Son of a bitch. I should have just been doing. Okay, so I just tried. I'm just gonna. I just tried to do this. I'm going to do it again. Um, since I might not be able to see you tomorrow, uh, since I will be, I'm sure, leaving for work around 7:30 something, and you guys have a long trip. Basically, what I'm saying is, I've really wanted to read to you, and I miss you a lot, and I love you, and I figured I would read to you when I can, um, and this was the surprise. Um, anyway, I'm going to try and read this all again, second take, without the stuttering, the stumbling over of words, because I can't edit this. Uh, but I figured you'd enjoy it. I have a little time before I have to jump in the car, so I figured I'd use that. Anyway, um, we left off when they were milking the knobweed sap by the chasm, and so I figured I'd just start there. Kaladin smiled in satisfaction, then squeezed his fingers along the length again. Nothing came out this time, so he tossed the reed into the chasm. For all his talk of hats, he didn't want to leave evidence. "I thought you said we weren't throwing them in," Teft accused. Kaladin held up the liquor bottle. "Only after we have this out." "What is it?" Rock leaned closer, squinting. "Knobweed sap. Or rather, knobweed milk. I don't think it's really sap. Anyway, it's a powerful antiseptic." What?" Tef asked. "It scares away rotspren," Kaladin said. "They cause infection. This milk is one of the best antiseptics there is. Spread it on a wound that's already infected and it will still work." That was good, because Leighton's wounds had begun to turn an angry red, rotspren crawling all over. Tef grunted, then glanced at the bundles. "There are a lot of reeds here." "I know," Kaladin said, handing over the other two bottles. "That's why I'm glad I don't have to milk them all on my own." Tef sighed, but sat down and untied a bundle. Rock did so, without the complaining, sitting with his knees bent to the sides, feet pressed together to hold the bottle as he worked. A faint breeze blew up, rattling some of the reeds. "Why do you care about them?" Tef finally asked. "They're my men." "That's not what being a bridge leader means." "It means whatever we decide," Kaladin said, noting that Syl had come over to listen. "You, me, the others." "You think they'll let you do that?" Tef asked. "The Light Eyes and the captains?" "You think they'll pay enough attention to even notice?" Tef hesitated, then grunted, milking another reed. "Perhaps they will," Rock said. There was a surprising level of delicacy to the large man's motions as he milked the reeds. Kaladin hadn't thought those thick fingers could be so careful, so precise. "Light Eyes, they are often noticing those things that you wish they would not." Tef grunted again, agreeing. "How did you come here, Rock?" Kaladin asked. "How does a Horn-Eater end up leaving his mountains and coming to the lowlands?" "You shouldn't ask those kinds of things, son," Tef said, wagging a finger at Kaladin. "We don't talk about our pasts." "We don't talk about anything," Kaladin said. "You two didn't even know each other's names." "Names are one thing," Tef grumbled. "Backgrounds, they're different. Is all right," Rock said. "I will speak of this thing." Tef muttered to himself, but he did lean forward to listen when Rock spoke. "My people have no shard blades," Rock said in his low, rumbling voice. "That's not unusual," Kaladin said. "Other than Alethkar and Jah-Keved, few kingdoms have many blades." It was a matter of some pride among the armies. "This thing is not true," Rock said. "Thalanah has 5 blades, and 3 full suits of plate, all held by the royal guards. The Sele have their share of both suits and blades. Other kingdoms, such as Herdaz, have a single blade and set of plate. This is passed down through the royal line. But the Unkalaki, we have not a single shard. Many are of our Nuatoma. This thing is the same as your light eyes, only their eyes are not light. How can you be a light eyes without light eyes? Tef said with a scowl. By having dark eyes, Rock said, as if it were obvious. We do not pick our leaders this way. It's complicated. But do not interrupt story. He milked another reed, tossing the husk into a pile beside him. The Nuatoma, they see our lack of shards as great shame. They want these weapons very badly. It is believed that the Nuatoma who first obtains a shard blade would become king, a thing we have not had for many years. No peak would fight another peak where a man held one of the blessed blades. So you came to buy one? Kaladin asked. No shard bearer would sell his weapon. Each was a distinctive relic, taken from one of the lost Radiants after their betrayal. Rock laughed. Ha! Buy? No, we are not so foolish as this. But my Nuatoma, he knew of your tradition, eh? It says that if a man kills a shard bearer, he may take the blade and plate as his own. And so my Nuatoma and his house, we made a grand procession, coming down to find and kill one of your shard bearers. Kaladin almost laughed. I assumed it proved more difficult than that. My Nuatoma was not a fool, Rock said, defensive. He knew this thing would be difficult, but your tradition, it gives us hope, you see. Occasionally, a brave Nuatoma will come down to duel as a shard bearer. Some day, one will win, and we will have shards. Perhaps, Kaladin said, tossing an empty reed into the chasm. Assuming they agree to duel you in a bout to the death. Oh, they always duel, Rock said, laughing. The Nuatoma brings many riches and promises of his possessions to the victor. Your light eyes, they cannot pass by a pond so warm. To kill an Unkalanki with no shard blade, they do not see this thing as difficult. Many Nuatoma have died. But it is all right. Eventually, we will win. And have one set of shards, Kaladin said. Alethkar has dozens. One is the beginning, Rock said, shrugging. But my Nuatoma lost, so I am bridgeman. Wait, Tef said. You came all this way with your Bright Lord, and once he lost, you up and joined a bridge crew? No, you do not see, Rock said. My Nuatoma, he challenged High Prince Thaddeus. It is well known that there are many shard bearers here on Shadowed Plains. My Nuatoma thought it easier to fight a man with only plate first, than win blade next. And, Tef said, once my Nuatoma lost to Bright Lord Thaddeus, all of us became his. So you're a slave? Kaladin asked, reaching up and feeling the marks on his forehead. No, we do not have this thing, Rock said. I was not a slave of my Nuatoma. I was his family. His family? Tef said. Kellic, you're a light eyes. Rock laughed again, loud and full-bellied. Kaladin smiled despite himself. It seemed like so long since he'd heard someone laugh like that. No, I was only Umarti. Umarti his cousin, you would say. Still, you were related to him. On the peaks, Rock said, the relatives of a Bright Lord are his servants. What kind of system is that? Tef complained. You have to be servant to your own relatives? Storm me, I'd rather die, I think I would. It's not so bad, Rock said. You don't know my relatives, Tef said, shivering. Rock laughed again. You would rather serve someone you do not know, like this Thaddeus, a man who is no relation to you? He shook his head. Lowlanders. You have too much air here, makes your mind sick. Too much air? Kaladin asked. Yes, Rock said. How can you have too much air? It's all around. This thing is difficult to explain. Rock's Alethi was good, but he sometimes forgetted to add in common words. Other times he remembered them, speaking his sentences precisely. The faster he spoke, the more words he forgot to put in. You have too much air, Rock said. Come to Peaks. You will see. I guess, Kaladin said, shooting a glance at Teft, who just shrugged. But you're wrong about one thing. You said that we serve someone we don't know. Well, I do know Bright Lord Thaddeus. I know him well. Rock raised an eyebrow. Arrogant, Kaladin said. Vengeful, greedy, corrupt to the core. Rock smiled. Yes, I think you are right. This man is not among the finest of Light Eyes. There are no finest among them, Rock. They're all the same. They have done much to you, then. Kaladin shrugged, the question uncovering wounds that weren't yet healed. Anyway, your master was lucky. Lucky to be slain by a shard-bearer. Lucky he didn't win, Kaladin said, and discover how he'd been tricked. They wouldn't have let him walk away with Sadeas' plate. Nonsense, Teft broke in. Tradition is the blind witness they use to condemn us, Teft, Kaladin said. It's the pretty box they use to wrap up their lies. It makes us serve them. Teft set his jaw. I've lived a lot longer than you, son. I know things. If a common man killed an enemy shard-bearer, he'd become a Light Eyes. That's the way of it. He let the argument lapse. If Teft's illusions made him feel better about his place in this mess of a war, then who is Kaladin to dissuade him? So you were a servant, Kaladin said to Rock. In a Bright Lord's retinue? What kind of servant? He struggled for the right word, remembering back to the times he'd interacted with Wistio or Roshone. A footman? A butler? Rock laughed. I was cook. My Nuotoma would not come down to the lowlands without his own cook. Your food here, it has so many spices that you cannot taste anything else. Might as well be eating stones powdered with pepper. You should talk about food, Teft said, scowling. A horn-eater? Kaladin frowned. Why do they call your people that, anyway? Because they eat the horns and shells of the things they catch, Teft said. The outsides. Rock smiled with a look of longing. Ah, but the taste is so good. You actually eat the shells? Kaladin asked. We have very strong teeth, Rock said proudly. But there, you now know my story. Bright Lord Sadeas, he wasn't certain what he should do with most of us. Some were made soldiers, others served in his household. I fixed him one meal and he sent me to bridge crews. Rock hesitated. I may have, enhanced the soup. Enhanced? Kaladin asked, raising an eyebrow. Rock seemed to grow embarrassed. You see, I was quite angry about my Nuotoma's death, and I thought these lowlanders, their tongues, are all scorched and burned by the food they eat. They have no taste. And what? Kaladin asked. Choldung, Rock said. It apparently has stronger taste than I assumed. Wait, Teft said. You put Choldung in High Prince Sadeas' soup? Yes, Rock said. Actually, I put this thing in his bread, too, and used it as a garnish on the pork steak, and made a chutney out of it for the buttered garums. Choldung, it has many uses, I found. Teft laughed, his voice echoing. He fell on his side, so amused that Kaladin was afraid he'd roll right into the chasm. Horn-eater, Teft finally said. I owe you a drink. Rock smiled. Kaladin shook his head to himself, amazed. It suddenly made sense. What? Rock said, apparently noticing his expression. This is what we need, Kaladin said. This! It's the thing I've been missing. Rock hesitated. Choldung, this is the thing you need. Teft burst into another round of laughter. No, Kaladin said. Well, I'll show you. But first we need this knobweed sap. They'd barely made their way through one of the bundles, and already his fingers were aching from the milking. What of you, Kaladin? Rock asked. I have been telling you my story. Will you tell me yours? How did you come to those marks on your forehead? Yeah, Teft said, wiping his eyes. Whose food did you trad in? I thought you said it was taboo to ask about a bridgeman's past, Kaladin said. You made Rock share, son, Teft said. It's only fair. So if I tell my story, that means you'll tell yours? Teft scowled immediately. Now look, I ain't going to... I killed a man, Kaladin said. That quieted Teft. Rock perked up. Syl, Kaladin noticed, was still watching with interest. That was odd for her. Normally her attention wavered quickly. You killed a man, Rock said, and after this thing they made you a slave. Is not the punishment for murder usually death? It wasn't murder, Kaladin said softly, thinking of the scraggly bearded man in the slave wagon who had asked him these same questions. In fact, I was thanked for it by someone very important. He fell silent. And? Tef finally asked. And, Kaladin said, looking down at a reed. Noman was setting in the west, and the small green disk of Misham, the final moon, was rising in the east. And it turns out that light eyes don't react very well when you turn down their gifts. The others waited for more, but Kaladin fell silent, working on his reeds. It shocked him how painful it still was to remember those events back in Amaram's army. Either the others sensed his mood, or they felt what he'd said was enough, for they each turned back to their work and prodded no further. Alright, the next chapter is 24, and even though I want to keep going, I should probably get the rest of the way ready for work and head out. But I hope that you have a great night tonight, and definitely let me know how finals go. And I hope that I will get to see you tomorrow. Anyway, I hope that was enough. I know it was really short. Hopefully you'll get more of that sometime soon. We're gonna figure out this whole schedule thing for this week. Promise. I love you so much. I will see you later.